Comics,
movies and TV shows,
video games,
collectibles and cosplay.
with these topics combined, we are My Big Fat Pull List.
By entertaining and educating our audience, we hope to give you the tools needed to save your time and especially your money.
Tight.
We're ready to geek out with you.
Welcome, listeners, to another great episode of My Big Fat Pull List. Today, we're going to be talking about the recent crossover event in Marvel Comics called Devil's Reign. With me today are two amazing talents in the names of
Dr. Impact.
And I'm Smurphy.
Thanks, guys, for joining me here. I'm really glad to have you guys talk to you about this. I am a huge street-level character type fan, like Daredevil, Spider-Man, Luke Cage. I love those street-level heroes. There's just something about the small man problems and the everyday man problems that I just love. And this story arc was nothing but that, and it was fantastic.
Oh, it was the epitome of street level crossover with more than just street level heroes.
I gotta be honest with you guys, I know nothing about this. I didn't even know it was street level. So this is all news to me. So but that is, yeah. Okay, so see, this is gonna kind of remind me of probably Shadowland. It was more street level, dealt with Daredevil, the Hand, like
Yeah, only good.
Oh, okay.
And
well, I didn't think
way
it was bad,
bigger.
but yeah, okay.
Way
and bigger. Okay.
Yeah, this has much bigger lasting effects in the Marvel universe than Shadowland.
This
be honest,
was like
though.
Civil War level big.
Yeah,
It just was street level.
See, and I think that's how all major events should be. And the fact that they don't are kind of always upsets me, But okay.
To kind of give a little background on this for myself, I am a huge Daredevil fan. I have read the entire Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run, which has been probably my favorite Daredevil run, even over the Bendis run.
You got me into that. I started picking up the trades of the Zdarsky run, and I've only read the first two trades so far, but those two trades alone is what made me go, yep, I'm getting Devil's Reign. Yes, I will be getting Chip Zdarsky's Batman run, because this is probably the best writer in comics right now.
It's phenomenal. He does amazing superhero. He does amazing law scenes. He does amazing deep characters.
Yeah.
And everything from his comic the Daredevil run has led up to this. So I'm going to stop gushing about how amazing this is, and I'm just going to jump into this.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to give a little backstory, currently in New York City, the mayor of New York City is Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin.
I was going to say, it's going to be Kingpin. I knew it. I knew it.
And that's a result of...
Yes.
Was that a result of King in Black, or was that a result of before King in Black?
That was before King in Black.
Yeah, that was before King in Black.
He was mayor at the beginning of the Daredevil Zdarsky run.
Right.
Okay, so there was an event, and I don't remember what crossover event this was, but there was a crossover event where Kingpin basically saved a bunch of people, and as a result, won the election. And I don't remember what the event was, but okay.
Yeah. It had to do with cosmic or supernatural stuff, if I remember right. I think.
To me, I think that
War of
it's
the
like
Realms, maybe, or something.
See,
like
that's
that.
what I was wondering, because War of the Realms was the last big event that was that huge that happened in the city that he would have, which I'm going to currently read now. So I'll let you know once.
Okay.
Well,
anyway,
everything.
That's where he ended up becoming mayor. Yeah.
Yes, Kingpin is currently mayor, and he finds out at the very end of the Daredevil run that he goes into his safe. He's actually just married Typhoid Mary, of all people. And on his honeymoon, he goes into his secret safe at Gracie Mansion and pulls out this file on Daredevil's secret identity. And he opens it up, and all the pages are blank. This is because in previous runs of Daredevil, I believe it was the Mark Waid run, Daredevil teamed up, or the Purple Man has kids, and the Purple Man's kids made the entire world forget Matt Murdock was Daredevil.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for them.
Right. And now Kingpin's like, I have this file. I know this information. I can't remember this information. And he got pissed at the end of that issue, and that jumps into Devil's Reign, where it starts, where Daredevil meets Kingpin in the city streets, because Kingpin calls him, and he's like, how did you make me forget? You did something. What did you do? And Daredevil is like, neener. You don't know me anymore.
So Daredevil really mocks him because, like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
okay,
He mocks him, and
okay,
not in that kind of way,
right,
but in
right,
a very much
but
the Daredevil way. He mocks
yes,
him, being like, "You don't know who I am. F you."
deal with it. Yeah, deal with it.
And swings off. And Kingpin's like, "Oh yeah, watch this."
This is my new
And
mission.
outlaws, vigilantes, and superheroes in New York City.
Completely.
Oh man, that's only 90% of all of them.
It's not like Civil War where it's like you have to register, and it's just flat out outlawed. Done.
Yep.
Vigilantism is no longer allowed. Period.
And the only ones that are allowed to be crime fighters in New York are Kingpin's special agents, the Thunderbolts.
I knew. I mean, I knew it. I saw it coming because it totally makes sense. You know that 100% makes sense because they're former bad guys trying to go good guys.
Oh,
he can have control of them.
Guys.
Oh, this is like the worst Thunderbolts.
Oh,
ever.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
The whole history of Thunderbolts used to be, bad guys trying to redeem themselves, or kind of a sort of Suicide Squad-ish type thing. Like, hey, we'll get some time off our sentence.
His main team of Thunderbolts is Taskmaster, Rhino, Whiplash, Electro, Agony, and they are being led by U.S. Agent.
And it is more it's more like the Dark Avengers. Only they're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah, at a period. Like, no, we are who we are. Like, you're gonna be Bullseye, but really you're gonna be Hawkeye. Yeah. No. Like, no. This is Electro. He's gonna go out there and zap you.
And they even in their appearances, they even will show up and be like, people will be like, wait, you can't do this. You work for, and they grab their Thunderbolt badge and they're like, you see this? This shows that I can do whatever I want. It's complete abuse of power.
Wow.
And so Kingpin starts sending these Thunderbolts out and starts arresting superheroes.
Get out of here.
And at one point, he sends a bunch of agents, and there's also like there's the Thunderbolts supervillains, and then they've also got like armored Shield-esque troopers that are with
yeah,
as well.
like, yeah,
right,
army,
of course.
Yeah,
of course, because that's their backup, right? So,
and a bunch of them enter the Baxter building.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here!
They're like the agents, the armored guy entered the Baxter building, and they're like, we're here to take over. And Sue Richards is like, no, we have a deal with the government. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And Reed's like, yeah, this is our place. And all of a sudden, these two tentacles come in and slap power control collars on them. And Doc Ock is a Thunderbolt, and he has taken over the Baxter building, and they've arrested Reed and Sue.
Whoa.
Yeah, and Ben and Johnny, I think, were they not there, or did they escape? Or somehow they got away.
They were there on the top floor when they heard an alarm go off that some sort of
took off.
Code blah 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 happens, and Ben's like, "Uh-oh, that's not good." And so they grab Val and Franklin, and the four of them escape.
Yeah.
And
Jeez, man.
so Doc Ock has taken the Baxter building. Superheroes are being Moon Knight is arrested in like the first issue.
Which one? Time out. Well, which personality of Moon Knight?
Does it matter?
You can get one. You can't get all three of us.
And like Miles is saving people from a burning building, and
Like
Thunderbolts try to come in and arrest him.
Mm-hmm.
When Captain America, Spider-Man, Elektra, who is also Daredevil, and Matt Murdock Daredevil come in and save Miles, and they all get away.
Okay.
And that's
wait, you said something. Sorry, you said something confusing. Hang on. So Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and you said Elektra was Daredevil?
Yes, Elektra. So this is kind of to harken back to the Daredevil series. Matt Murdock went to prison in that series. There's a great storyline about that where Daredevil accidentally killed somebody in a crime stop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! So he faced the music and went to jail.
He faced music, went to prison. And while he's in prison, Elektra was like, "I'm going to stand up. I'm going to be Daredevil in the city while you're in prison." And I'll be honest, I hate Elektra as a character. I have loved this Elektra.
Got ya.
She's been
sorry,
great.
man. I misheard you. I thought you said Electro at first. Electro.
Oh, no.
That's why I was like, "How's Electro on? Like, is he on both teams?" Sorry, that's
Double agent. No.
Yeah, got you. Okay, so also Electra. Okay, that makes more sense because she's got the same kind of moves as him. Okay.
And that Captain America, Daredevil, Elektra Daredevil, that group ends up kind of becoming like
Underground,
like your primary Underground. Yeah, like
interesting.
Yeah, they're
but they're not calling themselves the Avengers, are they? Because that is an
No.
Avengers team, more or less. Interesting. Okay.
Well, there's two others that join the team eventually in the same issue. Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones.
And Tony too, doesn't he join at that point too?
Tony joins at the end.
Oh, okay.
Tony Stank?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony Stank.
But Luke Cage and Jessica Jones see this bus get hit by something and fall over, and Luke jumps in to save people because it's Luke.
It's Luke, right?
Right. And then Shocker, who's also been deputized at the Thunderbolt, tries to stop Luke, but Luke just, crushes
Punches
his gauntlets.
Right.
And then Luke Cage gives this great speech, which I'm not even going to try to recreate it because I'll butcher it, but he gives this great speech about how, we're all New Yorkers and Kingpin's a criminal and we need to stand up to him, and I'm not going to hide my face because I'm a New Yorker.
There's a moment in that scene, and I don't remember if it's at the beginning of the speech or at the end of the speech, where it feels very much like the scene in Tombstone right after the gunfight at the OK Corral, and Sheriff Behan comes up and he's like, "You guys are all under arrest. I'm arresting all of you." And Wyatt Earp looks at him and goes, "I don't think I'll let you arrest me today, Behan."
Yeah.
And there's like this moment where Luke Cage is like, "Nah, I don't think I'm going to let you arrest me today. Sorry."
And then, and then after that, Tony comes and visits Luke Cage.
Okay.
And says, "Hey, there's only one way we're going to beat Kingpin. We can't beat him up. We can't fight him. He's the mayor." So Tony says, "I'm going to run for mayor and beat him as the mayor."
Beat him legally.
Right.
Yeah, so Tony wants to try to be the next mayor of New York City. While all this is going on, you find out that Kingpin has the Purple Man locked up.
Oh, geez.
And his using Doc Ock, part of the deal to get Doc Ock on his team is Doc Ock gets the Baxter building if he helps Kingpin create, his Kingpin's little cane.
Yeah.
The gem at the top of his cane gets powered with Purple Man's power, so Kingpin can control people's minds.
Whoa.
And basically, what he ends up wanting to do with that is rig the upcoming mayoral election.
Of course, because he's a bad guy.
Sound familiar?
Yeah.
He's wanting to rig an election?
Right.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of it, your little teaser for the next upcoming story arc is there's a group of other rich Kingpin-esque people that were introduced in Daredevil called the Stromans. They go around, they institute crime in areas to lower property value so they can buy it up and become moguls. They want to use Kingpin as their front runner for the President of the United States.
Well, of course, because right now the rule's only in Manhattan. When we get this thing to go nationwide.
Yep. And then that's where the first issue ends. That's all one issue.
That's a lot for first issue, man. I mean, but what a way to get you hooked. What a way to get you hooked.
And then because I'm such a city level guy and I love Zdarsky, I decided I was going to read all the tie-ins that are involved in this. And also because as far as crossovers go, this one had the fewest amount of tie-ins I could think of.
It really did. And yeah, you did read all of them, right? I only read some of them. But
and so to help out our listeners, I'm going to describe what happens in these story arcs when they take place in the main issues. So that way you guys have an idea of the full story. So next story arc was called Villains for Hire, and it was about the Thunderbolts. And it's a 3-issue miniseries. The 2 issues take place now. The 3rd issue takes place later. The first 2 issues, it's mainly about Taskmaster, Rhino, Whiplash, Electro, and Agony, who's a symbiote, for those of you who might not know who Agony is.
Got you. Thank you.
They're going around and they're killing criminals indiscriminately because they've got a badge. They can do what they want.
Mm-hmm. We are the law.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Wow.
And they're just going around causing chaos and killing things because they can get away with it.
Right.
U.S. agent approaches the mayor and he's like, "Hey, your team's out of control. You need me to lead them." And Kingpin's like, "Why do I want you? You're a superhero." And he goes, "Because I didn't vote for you. Because that's why you want me." And Kingpin's like, "Actually, that makes a lot of sense." And he hires U.S. Agent to lead lead his Thunderbolts. And you actually kind of find out through this story arc that U.S. Agent is trying to infiltrate Kingpin to try to get dirt on him, to try to overthrow him.
Okay.
So he's really not a bad guy. He's trying to be a good guy, but he's got to be like a double agent.
He's Wreck-It Ralph. Just because he's a bad guy does not mean he's a bad guy.
Right. And throughout this story arc, things happen, but the main thing that happens at the end of it is there's this big press conference, and there's this girl who's all in purple that's got like these black veins, and she's walking through the crowd touching people and starts turning them into this massive rage, and they all attack Kingpin. And the Thunderbolts have to protect him, and that's kind of how the story, that second issue ends. And that's kind of a really brief description of the first 2 issues. But yeah, that's pretty much how it is. It's a side story.
Right.
As far as importance, those first 2 issues, they're fairly important. You don't really need to read them to know what's going on, but it's a fun additional story to hear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a waste like some tie-ins can be.
Yeah,
right,
not at all.
Which we've had plenty of experience with those throughout all the big events going on, you know.
The next one is kind of a waste.
Yeah, they always have one.
It's the X-Men tie-in.
Oh, okay.
I did not read this one.
And see, in my head, they're not in Manhattan. They're in like Upper New York or whatever.
Krakoa.
So
they're on Krakoa.
Oh, they're in Krakoa now. Sorry, that tells you my X-Men
apparently
knowledge.
They have. Apparently, I don't know X-Men. I haven't read X-Men since the '90s, so I don't know an X-Men from a gold ball. But,
that is an X-Men.
Yeah, no, it's. But apparently, Krakoa is a mutant as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and it's kind of, I guess, sent its roots out all over the world, and now there's these giant tree houses in different parts of the world that the X-Men live out of. It have portals that jump from each tree house.
That was part of Hickman's run, I believe.
That's so dumb.
During House of 10 or Power of 10 or X or whatever they ended up calling it, I forget, because that was a huge debate too. Yes, it was all during that where they pretty much were like, we're going to reestablish the X-Men, and now here's all this weird stuff, you know, that it doesn't make any sense, which is why I kind of jumped off that after that. I was like, I can't handle this.
Well, Zdarsky didn't write this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had a hand in this. Kingpin wants to get rid of the tree house that's in New York.
Of course.
It's superheroes in New York. He wants all superheroes gone. But Emma Frost gets it turned into an embassy. So he can't do anything about it. And then you find out that Emma Frost, back in her Hellfire Club days, worked with Kingpin.
Okay.
He would use her to go and mind white people and get what he wanted because they were both criminals, whatever.
Right.
And so he tries to defame Emma Frost by saying that she killed an orphan.
Jeez.
Then you get a bit of a flashback where you find out that while Emma was working for Kingpin, Elektra was also working for Kingpin. And this orphan saw Elektra kill somebody, so Kingpin sent Emma to take care of this little orphan. And Emma didn't kill her. Emma instead, quote unquote, kidnapped the orphan and took her off to England somewhere in hiding where Kingpin couldn't get to her.
And that orphan was Kitty Pryde. Boom. Full circle. No, sorry. That's just the way they. Yeah.
Isabel is her name.
So really, just a complete random.
Yeah.
Like just okay.
He took her to England, or she took Isabel to England, and apparently Elektra also, who did not want to kill this orphan girl, after she was free from Kingpin's stuff, would travel to England and trained Isabel how to fight.
Of course.
And then eventually they find out that Isabel is there in this story arc, so Emma's got to rescue Isabel, and Isabel has to come out and say, look, I'm alive. I didn't really die. And at the very end, Emma's like, you better not come after me, and I'm going to be there when you fall. And that was pretty much the end of it.
Got it.
And it was like, I mean, it was an interesting read. It was like, it wasn't terrible, but it was like, this was absolutely pointless. This did not do anything to the story arc. This was just, hey, we want to sell an X-Men book.
I was going to say, it was a way to get the people that only read mutant books like Mr. X to buy part of Devil's Reign when they don't really care, when Devil's Reign doesn't really pertain to them, but get them to buy something anyway. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Every time they have a big special event, right, that Marvel does, who's always involved? Avengers and X-Men. And they have to figure out a way to bring those guys in, even if the story doesn't relate to it or is a throwaway story. They will always figure out a way to wrap those guys in there just because they're popular. You know?
Right.
That's it.
And then that's where we tie into the next Devil Reign issue 2. Okay. And issue 2 starts off with a bang as Danny Rand is getting arrested by the Thunderbolts. Even though he's no longer Iron Fist, he doesn't do the superhero thing anymore. Kingpin still sends people out to arrest him.
That's dirty. That's like going to a retirement home, being like, "Hey, senior citizen, you fight crime back in the day. You're arrested. Okay, let me get my walker. Who are you?
Whippersnapper.
Yeah. Oh, how dare you? Like, that's dirty,
it depends
man.
on who they're arresting. If it's like a Nazi criminal that's hiding out in
That's fine.
retirement home, I'm okay.
Hey, I said hero.
Well, but that's
hero.
that's how he plays it
Yeah.
off, though. Is that he
does.
he manipulates the narrative so that it plays to the public as if he may not be doing his superhero thing anymore, but
he could.
He used to.
Right. God, he's
And
just making every hero be a war criminal, man. Jeez.
They try and arrest Danny Rand.
Right.
And then after that, Elektra goes, as Daredevil now, goes and visits Kingpin.
She becomes Iron Fist. No, I mean, really, sorry.
she goes to threaten Kingpin to be like, you better stop this, or I'm going to do my Elektra stuff. And Kingpin's like, oh, is that right? Well, just so you know, I have an entire file on you, and I gave it to somebody. And they really want to deal with you, and they want to mess with you. And they're going to want to meet you where you tried to recruit Daredevil.
It's the Hand, isn't it?
And that whole thing plays out in the Daredevil Woman Without Fear miniseries that takes place during all this, which I'm going to go into. But she's just like, shit, I got to go find out what's going on.
Right. What a way to distract her. Like, I can't beat you, but I'll keep you distracted and out of my hair for a long time.
Exactly, which is very Kingpin-y move.
Yeah, what a cool twist. What a fun, cool twist, as opposed to like, I'll just fight you, with fisticuffs and we'll call it a day. So. And
then Taskmaster and Whiplash send out this alert that we've taken over the Daily Bugle because they know Spider-Man has visited the Daily Bugle a lot.
That's thin, man. As lawyer terms, that's thin. Like, listen, Spider-Man has been here once. We're taking it over. Deal with it. Like, what? He's also going to McDonald's. You gonna take over McDonald's too? He eats burritos from the street vendor. You gonna take over his cart? Like, that's thin, man. Like, wow.
Thin as it may be, it works, of course.
It's true.
Because Spider-Man shows up, fights Whiplash and Taskmaster, but because there are so many people around, he ends up like trying to lead them out into the street.
Yeah.
And as he's trying to lead them out into the street, Taskmaster slaps a collar on him. Spider-Man loses his powers, falls, and gets arrested.
Yeah.
And we should note here that this is Ben Reilly.
Correct.
Spider-Man.
That's a good point.
Because at the end of Nick Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man run, when Zeb Wells took over Amazing, Peter got put into a coma just as the Beyond Corporation basically took over what was left of Parker Industries. Technically, they own the trademark to Spider-Man. And so they brought Ben Reilly in as the official Spider-Man, especially and he only agreed to do it because Peter was in a coma, and he was like, well, we need a Spider-Man, so I'll do this.
Dear
so
Lord.
It is the Ben Reilly Spider-Man.
Yeah, thank you for the backstory, because I was like, wait, what? Like, what happened?
I didn't even know all of that.
Yeah,
I just knew that Ben Reilly was Spider-Man, and if had this actually been Peter Parker, this probably would have made Devil's Reign that much better. That's my one complaint with Devil's Reign.
Yeah, which I get, but I also get why they couldn't put Peter Parker in there, because that would really script that whole story arc where they're like, oh no, he's not in the coma anymore. All of a sudden, then when this is over, he'll go back in the coma, and you're like, what? And like, okay. Right. So no, I'm glad they kind of did it that way. So
yeah, Spider-Man's Ben Reilly, and Ben Reilly's been arrested because he was fighting Whiplash and Taskmaster and got beat because he was also trying to save citizens.
I'll say that's a Peter Parker move, though, man. Take the fight away from the people. Get it out into the streets where get it away from everybody. That's solid.
Then you find out that Reed and Sue, they are in prison, but they get taken to different parts because they get into a big prison fight that criminals try to start up, and they get separated, and they're like, Reed's like, don't worry, babe, I got this. We're going to be fine. And it's just, I think that was just more of to remind the readers, Reed and Sue are still in this story arc. Don't forget about them.
Right, right.
And then we go to the Underground Avengers, is what I've named them. I don't know if that's what their actual name is, but I've coined them as the Underground Avengers. And they're all kind of meeting up, talking about what they're going to do, how they're going to beat Kingpin. And they decide, look, Tony, you're a great dude. We love you. You have great intentions. You can't be the one that runs for mayor. We can't have rich guy versus rich guy. It won't work. They say, and with Luke's speech the other day after fighting and not being arrested, Luke needs to be the one that runs for mayor. And Luke's like, look, man, I don't want to do this, but they're right. This is the best way to go about it. And then it shoots to the panel kind of cuts to Tony, and Tony looks a little butthurt. Like
he did, yeah.
He looked like, well, shit, I really wanted to be mayor. And like you're sitting there thinking, what's going on with Tony? What's up his sleeve that he's wanting to be mayor so badly? And then the final page of this issue is you see Doc Ock has entered one part of the Baxter building that has portals to like basically the multiverse.
So a little backstory on that for those who have not been reading Fantastic Four and Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run. Basically, Reed, and I forget what it's called, but Reed has this device that, yes, it is a portal that will take you anywhere in space or time or multiwhere. Like it's a doorway to anywhere.
It's a blah blah device.
Ever
yeah,
that you
why would you
go.
invent that?
Right.
Because you can.
Because it's Reed and because you can.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
no one tells him no, right?
Well, yeah. Otto. That's why Otto wants the Baxter building.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
He wants that device.
Right.
And Otto uses that device to bring 3 other Ottos to this world.
From the
He
multiverse.
brings Otto Banner, Otto Howlett, and Otto Blaze. A Dr. Ock version of the Hulk, a Dr. Ock version of the Wolverine, and a Dr. Ock version of Ghost Rider.
Holy
and
crap.
what you end up having is this weird multiversal Dr. Octopus version of the classic new Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, that is a Doc Ock Fantastic Four.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's awesome.
And
It's
then
kind of
leads
horrifying.
from there.
A little horrifying.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Like,
and from that leads into the superior foes is what they are called.
of
Or
course.
Superior Four is what they're called. It leads into that comic book, which is a 3-issue miniseries, which is about Doc Ock and his Superior Four.
And they travel the multiverse in that, if I'm correct.
Fighting
right?
crime.
Yeah, no, they travel the multiverse because Doc Ock is trying to drain the brains of other Ottos and other universes to make himself smarter.
Get out of here.
So that he will be the superior.
Right.
Yeah. And he comes across one Otto who is basically like Doctor Doom mixed with Doctor Strange.
Interesting.
And that guy nearly decimates him.
Of course.
The only reason Otto and the Superior Four end up beating him is because he teams up with a Man-Thing version of Otto.
Jeez. This
And
is getting auto ridiculous.
It is very Otto ridiculous. But it's a lot of fun. It doesn't have anything to do with the Devil's Reign story. That's why I'm kind of being brief about the story arc.
I mean, it does. That's how it started. You know, the origin was from that, and it branched off.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a feel, and you do see the Superior Four when they come back from their multiversal trip. They do appear later in the Devil's Reign story, but
Okay.
I have a feeling that the whole Superior Four thing will come back to haunt Peter in Spider-Man down the line somewhere.
Yep.
That's my
Hopefully.
assumption.
But yeah, that's about the extent of the Superior Four miniseries. It's just Otto and his multiversal jumpings. And then you jump into the Daredevil Woman Without Fear series, where she goes back to where she first tried to recruit Daredevil into the Hand, which was when they were back in college. And there she goes and meets a friend of hers named Goldie, and they have tea. And the only reason that's important is Goldie shows up a couple of times in this miniseries.
Got it.
But they have some tea. She talks with him, and then she actually sees and runs into she actually finds somebody who recruited her into the Hand, named Akka, AKA. And you're thinking, oh, this is the person Kingpin gave the file to. So she's chasing her when her car that she's driving, something hits the tire and throws her off the road. You find out the person that actually got the file, because he wants the best hunt he can have,
Kraven.
is Kraven the Hunter.
Of course. Kraven, you silly man.
Because the hunter wants to hunt the best assassin.
Yeah, right.
So he's got the file. Akka is just there to just kind of mess with Elektra.
Keep her off. Yeah, keep her off the shit.
And I think a lot of this stuff with Akka is going to play into things of Daredevil after Devil's Reign, which I'll go into later. And then in the second issue of Daredevil Without Fear, she ends up fighting Kraven a couple of times. You find out and get a little more backstory of how she's been trying to recruit Daredevil. And throughout this entire fight, Kraven's like, you don't let me beat you. I'm going to tell Daredevil that you tried to recruit him when he was younger.
Jeez.
And like basically taunting her. And then as they're fighting, she's like, oh yeah, by the way, I already told Daredevil. He knows and he's cool with it.
There goes, yeah.
Goes
like your ammo out of your gun. Yep.
Oh, whoops. And they end up fighting, and then they end up like Kraven ends up running away after this second issue of a fight. But he captures Goldie, her friend Goldie. And she goes to confront him to get him back. And she's like, you're actually going to fight me out here in the public, because they go to like a big back to the school area, the college school, and they go to this big quad area, and she's like, you're actually going to fight me in public, don't you know there's laws against that? And he reaches into a pouch and he goes, oh, don't worry, I'm deputized, and he's got a Thunderbolts badge.
Who doesn't have one of those? They just go up to every like, this is Dark Avengers, where they're like, hey, you a bad guy? You can represent good guys. Here you go. Hey, were you a bad guy? Here you go. Hey, who wants one? He's tossing them out like money, giving out like candy. Jeez.
And that's where that issue ends. But I think this one you don't need to read as well, but I think especially if you're a Daredevil fan, this one is vital to Daredevil.
Right.
I think this is probably the most important tie-in of all the tie-ins to read. But that's that one. Then the next tie-in is the Moon Knight tie-in, which is the Moon Knight one-shot. You don't need to read this at all, but I highly recommend you do.
It was
really fun and really off the wall.
Yeah, Moon Knight, he's arrested, and while he's there, he ends up like talking the guards into giving him a pillowcase to put over his head with a little moon symbol on it, so he can still wear a Moon Knight mask.
Get out of here! Of course he does.
Finds out about this underground fighting ring that the prisoners have. He ends up befriending a prisoner that he put in there.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and he goes and fights in this ring, and then the prisoner is going like, why are you doing all this? Why don't you hang out with your superhero buddies instead of fighting this ring? And Moon Knight's like, they don't like me either, so I might as well just hang out with somebody who also doesn't like me.
At least this is fun.
Right.
So. He's like, oh yeah, a few months ago, Khonshu kind of took over my mind, and we tried to take over New York together, and they don't really care for me too much, and they didn't really like me before that, so
they're still sour about me trying to become king of New York. So I'm just gonna hang out here for a while.
And then you find out though why he's in this fighting ring, and it's because there's this guy in there. What was his name? They find this guy called Man Mountain Marco.
That name just rolls off the tongue.
Right. He's some like 2-bit thug guy, but he's got super strength.
Okay.
And Moon Knight is fighting this guy in the ring, and Moon Knight Man Mountain Marco's like, you're never going to beat me. I'm super strong. And Moon Knight's like, actually, the whole reason I'm in prison is to get to you. I got myself arrested. Apparently, Man Mountain Marco has a daughter, and the mother went to Mr. Knight, who was the other personality of Moon Knight, and was like, hey, Marco is writing my daughter because she also has super strength like him, and he's telling her how he's going to make her his partner when he gets out of prison.
Oh.
Can you do something about it? And Mr. Knight's like, don't worry, girl, we got you.
Oh, God.
And so Moon Knight got himself arrested to threaten that guy.
Jeez.
And he's beating him up, and he's like, look, man, I'm telling you right now, the whole reason I'm in here is to threaten you to not mess with her, or else bad stuff's going to happen. And Marco's like, after Marco gets threatened, he's like, I ain't scared of you. Ain't nothing you can do. And bad stuff happens.
It was all Moon Knight on him?
Probably, at least of the tie-ins that I read, it's probably one of the most pointless and yet one of the most fun.
Yeah. And at the very end, you find out he knows the superheroes are going to get out. but he also knows that they're going to need him when he gets out, so he knows that they're going to take him along as well.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, it has nothing to do with the story other than Moon Knight was arrested. But it is a heck of a lot of fun, and I highly recommend you listeners go out and read it just for it, because Moon Knight's crazy.
Right.
Then the next one they say to read is Moon Knight number 8. You don't need to read it at all. The only tie-in there is that they mention how Moon Knight's arrested. That's literally the entire tie-in. So you can completely skip that.
Yeah, that was a waste.
Then there's the Spider-Woman issue 18. This was a lot of fun. You find out it's not really important to the main story of it itself, other than the fact that there are Thunder agents that are getting involved with Spider-Woman, which is why it's a tie-in to it. But the main thing you find out about this one is that since Kingpin's taken over as mayor and he's taken over the Thunderbolts, he's got access to all of Norman Osborn's Thunderbolt stuff.
Oh, jeez.
You find out the Skull Empress is not dead. The Skull Empress has been imprisoned underground all this time.
Now I'm confused. Now who's that? Sorry.
Yeah,
who's the Skull Empress?
The one that Norman Osborn killed at the end of Secret Invasion.
Oh,
Skrull.
Skrull. Sorry, I said the wrong word. Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're confused. But
Way.
So she's not dead.
Skrull Empress. She's not dead. Norman has had her locked up all these years. Apparently, her Skrull powers regenerated her brain.
Oh my God! All the way back to Secret Invasion.
That's what I'm saying. That is a huge wow.
Kingpin let her free to go mess with Spider-Woman because Spider-Woman's a superhero in New York.
That's he got drunk with power.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what happened. That's the main things that happened in that issue. There's 2 other Spider-Woman issues, which I'll go into when they tie in. The next big tie-in is the Winter Soldier tie-in, which is just a one-shot, where Bucky goes to Gracie Mansion because he knows Kingpin's got these files. Kingpin's got a file on Bucky. Bucky doesn't know a lot of his past.
Yeah,
Kingpin
so Bucky wants it.
know it.
Yeah.
He wants it for himself. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just excited because Winter Soldier is now becoming one of my favorite characters. Yeah. Right? Like he's slowly moving up the ranks. He's definitely in top 5. That's awesome. Where Bucky's like, I don't have my memory. This guy can have some of my memories. I'm gonna go get my memories back, more or less. Because anything
Which
you
you'd
find out
probably
about
like
himself,
this one shot.
That's all I was like. I'm gonna have to go hunt that down.
It was a good one. I read that one.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
But yeah, he finds like a bunch of dead guards there, and then like a sleepwalking Kingpin ends up fighting him, and Kingpin is like sleepwalking and enraged, thinking he's fighting Daredevil while he's fighting Bucky.
God, poor Bucky, but Bucky can hold his own, man. Like
they destroy but they destroy like half of Gracie Mansion in their fight.
Well, of course. Well, yeah, there's collateral damage.
It happens. But it was really kind of interesting because like just Winter Soldier going in and trying to get his memories back.
I bet.
I have a feeling that's going to play more into the Captain America stuff coming around.
Yeah.
It's not really super relevant to Devil's Reign other than it's
right.
Kingpin and all that stuff. But it's still a fun read. And I think especially if you're a Captain America Winter Soldier like yourself, Smurphy, since you're a Winter Soldier fan, I definitely recommend checking this one out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hunt it down.
Right. And then we go into Devil's Reign issue 3. We're finally at the issue 3 of Devil's Reign. And it starts off with an interrogation of Spider-Man, and he is just getting interrogated by detectives.
Now, this Spider-Man is the Ben Reilly, correct?
Still yes. Ben Reilly.
Okay. Because I was like, dude, beating up Peter Parker in a coma, that's double low. He do nothing.
I'll start saying Ben Reilly to help confusion.
Yeah. Just for our listeners out there, too, like I said, I want to be clear, because I wouldn't put it past Kingpin to be like, hey, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, he's in a coma. Go beat him up. So when he comes to, yeah, he knows what's up. Like,
but Thing and Johnny show up at the police station, and they just kind of casually walk in and just kind of casually break in, and they casually break Spider-Man out.
How do you casually walk in as the Thing? Like Johnny.
How are you going to stop him?
Well, right, but how are you just like, excuse me, and hold the door for the nice lady coming out? Like, here, let me get the door for you. I got my fancy hat on. They won't know it's me. Right. Like, you're a giant rock.
No, he just kind of struts in. He's like, yeah, we're here to break Spider-Man out.
We're here for Spider-Man? Yeah, we'll sign for his things.
Luke Cage then holds a press conference saying that he's running for mayor to try to beat Kingpin, and does this whole big speech about how Kingpin's a criminal. We need to do this. And one of his lawyers that's supporting him during all this, Foggy Nielsen.
Yeah, I was going to say, yep.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's got to be, right.
Invisible Woman they have a small scene with Invisible Woman meeting up with her lawyer telling her how things aren't looking great. And Sue's like, it's all good. It's all good. And Sue's looking through this file that the lawyer gives her and says, oh, well, we'll get out of here eventually. Hands the file back. But Sue kept a paperclip.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that part.
Right.
Yeah.
It seems like a scene that's not important, but the fact that she keeps a paperclip is important. Yep. There's another next scene after that is Kingpin talking to the Purple Man, and he finds out Purple Man has kids, and the Purple Man, he's like, hey, look, I know you're talking about why you can't remember everything. I can't remember stuff that I should know too, and I know how this power should work, and it's my power that did it, but I didn't make everybody forget, so it's got to be my little crap kids, because Purple Man knows he has kids. And so Kingpin's like, what? Okay, we got to find these kids. The heroes have a conversation about how to handle Kingpin after that. Some of them are all like, well, I mean, he's really not doing that bad of a job, so maybe it shouldn't be this way. And Jessica Jones is like, wait a minute, I feel something going on in my head. This feels like the stuff Purple Man used to do. And some of the heroes are being manipulated with Kingpin's Purple Man powers. And that's how they kind of figure out Kingpin's a little more stronger than we thought. And they're like, we got to stop him. You find out that the Purple Man's kids are hiding in New York in this issue, which you would think they'd get the hell away from New York.
No kidding. But... there's other states, people. There's other cities. Like,
right.
Let's get out of this city.
Right. And so the heroes then, to try to stop Kingpin, after you find out the Purple Man's kids are around, they infiltrate City Hall to try to stop Kingpin because he's using these Purple Man powers. And as they infiltrate City Hall, the Superior Force shows up. And they basically fight the heroes. And at the very end of it, Foggy Nelson in his office, during this fight going on in another part of the city, Foggy Nelson comes back to his office and gets the crap beat out of him by two of Kingpin's thugs.
I was really hoping that was going to be the other way. Like, and while this is going down, Foggy files some paperwork and gets everyone out of jail. Double stamp. Good. Foggy's the real hero.
No, unfortunately, no. The next story arc after that, that's how it ends, is Foggy getting the crap beat out of him.
Jeez.
The next story picks up is the Spider-Man one-shot. This one's really dumb. I'm not even going to lie. It's the Ben Reilly Spider-Man Smurphy, so you know.
Yeah, no, okay. Well, because the Como one would be really boring. It's just page after page of Peter sleeping. I mean, why did I buy this?
But yes, this one's kind of pointless. It starts off, Spider-Man gets let off by Ben and by Ben and Johnny after he just got freed. And he's like, cool, thanks guys for freeing me. And I kind of wish this would have really happened this way, but it's a pseudo thing. Thunderbolt agents rearrest Spider-Man right away.
Of course. I'm out. I'm in.
Right, which is almost perfectly Spider-Man. Only you find out they're not really Thunderbolt agents. They're hired goons working for the crime lord, the Rose.
Okay.
And they're trying to bring Spider-Man back to the Rose so the Rose can kill Spider-Man so he can be the new Kingpin of crime. And that's literally the whole story, is Spider-Man fighting the Rose, and it was kind of dumb.
The way you said it, it reminded me of the movie Friday when they're playing dice with like Devo. He's like, I won. You what? I lost. Spider-Man. I'm free. You're what? I'm back in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just an excuse to get the Spider-Man readers to buy a book.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, sadly, right? Like again, he's another one of the guys like X-Men Avengers that you got to have a tie-in because he's popular. Him, Hulk, you know, yeah. So,
the next Spider-Woman one ties in here, number 19. Again, nothing major with the story itself, other than the fact that we're still dealing with the Skrull Empress being out there, and the Skrull Empress kidnaps Spider-Woman's baby, and Spider-Woman's got to go and get her kid back. And that's kind of the majority of that issue, is her chasing Skrull Empress to get her kid back. And that resolves in the next issue as well. But again, I'm not going into too much detail on that one because it's not really related, but it's still a lot of fun. I highly recommend you guys check that out.
Well, and I have a question, unless you're going to get to this later on in the storyline, but what ends up happening to the Skrull Empress at the end of it?
I will get to that.
Okay,
There's
cool.
one more issue that does explain.
Okay, all right.
So then that jumps into Devil's Reign issue 4. We're kind of petering out the tie-ins now as we start to wrap up the story. 2 weeks have gone by since issue 3 and the other incidents. Doc Ock has these like Ock drones patrolling the city, after his fight with the Superior Four at City Hall. They're kind of patrolling the city, basically stopping and frisking and arresting anyone that looks like a superhero on sight. Doc Ock goes and pays Wilson Fisk a visit and is all like, hey, it's all because of me that this city is safe. You work for me now because without me, you wouldn't have a safe city. And Kingpin's like, oh yeah, and uses his cane. And Ock is like, yeah, that's not working on me. I built that thing for you. I know how to get around it. And Kingpin's like, oh yeah, you do. But your other 3 U's don't. And he controls the other 3 Superior Four, and they all attack Doc Ock.
Mm-hmm.
And basically getting Doc Ock in line to follow Kingpin. Then the next scene is Daredevil visiting Foggy in the hospital, where he's all like, man, I'm really sorry about all this. This is really sucks. And then while he's there, Mike Murdock shows up. Now, for those of you who might not know who Mike Murdock is, for the listeners, Mike Murdock is the quote-unquote twin brother of Matt Murdock. And it was a persona Matt Murdock made way back in the 60s to make people think he wasn't Daredevil. He was all like, my brother Mike's really Daredevil. And he would walk around with sunglasses and act like he could see, and people believed it.
Oh my God.
But
he's got a big mustache
recently,
on. I'm not Matt Murdock.
No, but recently Mike Murdock has manifested into a real human being, and is
that's convenient,
there. Right? And this happened a lot in the Daredevil story arc. And in fact, while Daredevil was in prison, Mike Murdock was acting like Matt Murdock.
Yeah, he had taken on the name. Yeah,
people didn't know that Matt was Daredevil, and he was acting blind. So Mike was trying to come visit Foggy, and Daredevil's like, go away. You shouldn't be here. You don't like Foggy anyway. And Mike's like, look, no, it's all good. I'm working with Butch, who, for those of you who might not know as well, Butch is Kingpin's illegitimate son, who's risen himself up to be a Kingpin as well. And they're trying to also take out Fisk. There's a lot of people trying to take out Fisk in all this. But he's like, no, it's cool. I'm working with Butch. We're going to bring Kingpin down. And Daredevil's like, no, go away. You're going to get yourself hurt. And that's and then Mike's like, you know what? Forget you. You're being a jerk. I covered for Matt, because Mike doesn't know Daredevil's Matt. But he's like, I covered for Matt during all this. F you, I'm out of here, and leaves. The Thunderbolts then are talking with Kingpin, and this is the ones that we mostly know as Thunderbolts, like U.S. Agent, Electro, Rhino, that whole team. And Kingpin's like, your job is to go find the Purple Kids and bring them here by whatever means necessary. Then
how many Purple Kids are there?
6?
5 or 6,
something like that. Yeah.
The way you make it sound like there's like 10 of them out there running around. So I was just curious. But 6 is still a lot.
There's still a fair amount of them.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Sue and Reed break out of prison.
They
start to break out.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah. Sue uses the paper clip to break herself out. Reed goes, I invented these collars. I know how to take them off.
He's like, yeah. Here you guys go. Have a good one.
Yeah. And then all the heroes, Moon Knight included, stage a jailbreak.
Of course. I would have Moon Knight lead that jailbreak. Like, let's follow you, crazy. Get us out of here. Do your crazy thing and we'll get out.
The champions show up and try to save some people, and Rhino appears. And Rhino's like, no, guys, I don't want to fight you. I want to give you these. And he gives each of the champions a Thunderbolt badge, basically allowing them to fight undercover. And none of the Ox drones that are floating around won't attack anyone that's got a Thunderbolt badge.
Interesting.
So Rhino's like, look, Kingpin's got us going after kids, trying to potentially kill kids. I'm not about that life. I know I'm not a great guy, but I'm not going to kill kids. So Rhino walks and joins the heroes.
Interesting. Now it turns.
Right. And then Kingpin, at the very end of this issue, he's talking to Typhoid Mary, and he's like, This is just killing me. There's something going on. I don't know what it is. And I just, there's something different about you. And I just wish you could just remember who you are. And he uses his cane on her, and she remembers everything about herself. Because Typhoid Mary hasn't, she's crazy in the comics in general, so she's always using her memory. She now remembers everything about herself, everything about her fighting abilities, everything about her pyrokinesis, all of that. And Kingpin's like, wait, this works? So he goes...
Because he's got the staff, yeah.
Right. He goes to the roof, and he uses the Purple Man powers on himself to make himself remember who Daredevil is.
Oh, that was a chilling scene.
It was.
I bet.
Because he's standing there in the pouring rain, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And I read that, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be huge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Villains for Hire issue 3. Again, not super important to read, but a lot of fun. It finishes off at the last issue where they were at the press conference with Kingpin, where the purple girl was turning everyone rage. You find out that is... where's the name? Oh. You find out that's a character named Conviction, who's someone that Kingpin had been experimenting on, apparently. And she tried to, take out Kingpin. The Thunderbolts end up stopping her. And then at that issue, you also get a little bit more of that scene where Kingpin sends the Thunderbolts out to capture the Purple Kids. And you will see in that scene, Rhino's like, I'm out, guys. I'm not about this life. And he quits. And they're like, great, we lost our muscle. And he's like, oh no, don't worry. I've got backup muscle. And I'm not going to reveal who that is now, because they also reveal that in Devil's Reign issue 5. But it's some muscle.
Yeah.
Juggernaut. I really don't know. That was a guess. I don't know.
And at the very, very end of that story arc, the Champions and Jessica Jones go to... The Thunderbolts find the Purple Kids, and the Champions and Jessica Jones jump in to try to save the Purple Kids from the Thunderbolts. And that's where that issue ends. And Devil's Reign issue 5 picks up almost exactly where that issue leaves off.
Mm-hmm.
So who's on the Champions team right now?
It was Miles...
Right.
Nova.
Okay.
I
don't remember who it all is that shows up in Devil's Reign, but the Champions team is the regular team.
Minus
Scott.
I was just curious. Okay. I don't know if they changed it or what. So okay.
No, I mean the regular team is there plus like
a few
8
extras.
other people.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a huge team.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so they fight with the Thunderbolts. They kind of get their butts kicked and just barely escape, because you meet who the new Thunderbolts muscle is. And jumping in is the Abomination.
Oh, damn. That's some muscle. That's an upgrade. Jeez.
They got some muscle.
We went from Rhino the Abomination. Good luck.
Yeah.
And Peter Parker, he's still in a coma. Ha! Sucker. Like, what's up? Now you're going to talk dirty? Jeez.
So they just barely escape. Jessica even gets a collar slapped on her, which she gets off with no problems, but they just barely escape from that Abomination. And the Purple Kids, all but one of the Purple Kids, get gathered up by the Thunderbolts. Only one of them gets away. Then they go to a scene where Butch, he's the Kingpin's kid, who's a Kingpin of crime as well. He's planning to take out Kingpin because he's getting tired of all the superhero shenanigans to begin with, both superheroes and supervillains. He's like, this is ridiculous. It's destroying everything. If I take out Fisk, then things should be fine, especially with the illegal superhero law. So he's going to go and take out Butch. Mike Murdoch shows up and he tells him, hey, look, man, I'm not really a real dude, but I have this thing called a Norn Stone that can do a bunch of stuff. And he's like, no, Mike, I don't want anything to do with superhero and magic stuff. Stop being an idiot. And he storms off. Kingpin then drains the Purple Kid's ability and puts him into Purple Man and lets Purple Man go free and have fun.
Oh, jeez.
Right. Then the heroes plot how to stop Fisk now that he has all the kids, and they're like, how do we do this? They come up with a little device that they put on their heads to keep Purple Man's abilities from breaching into them. So like this at least will protect us from Purple Man. And then the Thunderbolts show up where Superior 4 and Doc Ock are fighting, because that fight's still going on, where Superior 4 are fighting Doc Ock. The Thunderbolts show up to try to stop that fight, and the Avengers and the Champions show up to stop that fight. And then you have this big mass city brawl where you've got the Superior 4 and the Thunderbolts versus the Champions and the Avengers, and they're duking it out. And at the very end of that, or during that fight, the Purple Man shows up, and he's being carried by thousands of mind-controlled citizens.
Oh, boy.
So you have this massive, massive battle going on in this couple of city blocks. And the very end of this issue, Mike Murdock goes back to Matt Murdock's apartment, which has been Mike's during this Daredevil story arc. And Kingpin is there. And Kingpin thinks Mike is Matt.
Oh, yep, and shoots him in the face.
Not shoots him in the face, but beats him to death.
Oh, see, I was gonna say kills him. That was gonna be my guess.
Yeah.
Kills him. Yep.
He kills Mike Murdock, thinking it's Matt Murdock.
To me, just right now hearing this, I'm almost like, what a cop out. Like, hey, we had this guy Mike Murdock. I know you haven't heard of him before, but he's around. Oh, and he happened to die. Weird. Like, okay. Like, yeah.
There's going to be major implications of that.
Okay.
Then we go to the final tie-in, which is the issue 3 of Daredevil Without Fear, where she fights Kraven. They fight in this school. Akka is also there, doing her annoying hand stuff, and you find out that actually Akka worked with Kingpin to try to coerce Kingpin into sending Kraven after her. So she's kind of got the hand fingers and all of this stuff as well. But she ends up beating Kraven, ends up getting Akka to retreat, and you find out at the very end, Goldie, who is still there during all this, Elektra's friend, gets a call, and Matt Murdock has been killed. And Elektra, who doesn't think of it as Mike first, thinks Matt's been killed by Kingpin, because there are eyewitnesses that show the Kingpin, that Fisk killed Matt Murdock.
Right.
And she goes, okay, that's it. I'm done, because I was trying to be cool. I was trying to play by Matt's rules by not killing anyone. I'm going to go kill Kingpin.
Yep.
And that's how that story arc ends. And again, if you read any tie-in, you want to read any tie-in find one that's important, the Daredevil One Without Fear is probably the most important tie-in for all of Devil's Reign.
Got you. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. And then Devil's Reign issue 6, it starts off with a massive brawl, because you've ended that in that last issue. Daredevil gets a call from one of his lawyer friends that Matt Murdock has been killed.
This is awkward. Right. I don't know how to say this, man. This is awkward.
Right. And so he runs off to go find out what's going on with that. Kingpin and Typhoid Mary try to escape because there's eyewitnesses that Kingpin killed a guy.
Right.
Daredevil intercepts their escape. Elektra intercepts their escape. Those four, because Typhoid Mary is fighting as well, have this massive brawl in the city streets. Purple Man's has this like psychic fight with his kid. His kid shows up in the middle of this battle, and he tries having the psychic fight with his kid, realizes he can't control his kid, tries to control Luke Cage to kill the kid.
Hail, the gang's all here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Luke Cage ends up fighting it off. They end up defeating Purple Man. The heroes end up defeating the Thunderbolts and the Superior 4. The heroes that were incarcerated come in to help out. Like, everybody meets up in this big final issue. And at the very end, between the fight between Daredevil and Kingpin, they're both just beaten to hell, Daredevil and Kingpin. They have a brawl of a fight. And Daredevil's got Kingpin knocked down, and he's got Elektra Sai in his hand. And he's like, they're thinking he killed my brother. Because for the longest time, Daredevil's been referring to him as his brother for the past 4 or 5 years. He's like, he killed my brother. This can't stand. And he's about to run Kingpin through with Elektra Sai and straight up kill Kingpin. But Elektra talks him down, and she's like, look, you want to kill him, you go ahead and kill him. I'm not going to stop you. But you're supposed to be a symbol. And what kind of symbol are you going to be if you kill somebody in front of everybody, especially the mayor of New York?
True.
So he lets him go, and he's like, fine, I'm not going to kill you, I guess. At the end of that, the Thunderbolts come in. They arrest Kingpin for killing Matt Murdock. Daredevil and Elektra get away. You find out it's not the Thunderbolts. It's actually Butch who was pretending to be a Thunderbolt arresting Kingpin. They take them back to the Stromans, who I talked about briefly in issue 1, who are those people that are trying to buy up territory and turn Kingpin into mayor or into president. And their whole plan is, again, make Kingpin president, make him outlaw superheroes around the country so they can buy up property and become richer. And Kingpin's like, you know what? I don't want to be a pawn for anyone, and he kills him.
Jeez.
And then Kingpin escapes. Butch actually helps him kill him, and he's like, look, I got to get out of here, but I'm going to tell everybody you killed me. I don't care. I'm leaving New York. I'm not coming back. Butch, you tell everyone you killed me. You become the new Kingpin for good, and I'm out. And so he leaves.
With Mary, right?
With Mary, yes.
Yeah.
Luke Cage now wins the mayoral candidacy because he's running unopposed.
Unopposed, right. And
so now Luke Cage is the new mayor of New York City.
Huh. Okay.
Daredevil, Matt Murdock decides, well, Matt Murdock's dead. I can just be Daredevil. The Hand is out there causing problems. Me and Elektra are going to go stop the Hand.
Who, at this point, are kind of pseudo-run
by the Punisher.
Yep.
Which, yeah. That's exactly what I was just thinking. So I was like, oh man.
It's connecting.
Like, yeah, yep. Like, Obanova. Obanova.
And and that's pretty much how the story arc ends, with Kingpin and Mary running away, Daredevil and Elektra going to fight the Hand, and Luke Cage is now the mayor of New York City. Oh, and there's I forgot, there's another big major point in all this. Tony Stark is not Tony Stark.
What? Yeah, who is he?
You find out Tony Stark is the Chameleon, and he was put in there as Doc Ock. Doc Ock wanted Tony Stark to win mayor so he could control New York City.
Of course.
I completely forgot about that part.
I missed that completely. When does that happen?
Issue 4 or 5, or I think it's issue 5, because they're fighting, and Iron Man's like, no, wait, stop. I did everything you asked of me.
Oh, wow. I glazed over that page, I guess. Man,
yeah. Well, with so much going on, it's probably real easy to read it and miss, because that happens a lot. Wow. That was like a story with like 2 sub-stories going on, because Doc Ock always has his like ulterior motives, you know.
There were a couple of sub-stories going on, because you also had Butch and his sub-story going on.
True, right.
And it's a lot more coherent and cohesive than the way I was explaining it.
No. Well, that's the hard part about when you read a comic and then you have to try to summarize it. That's the hardest part. Is figuring out, like, I got to make this all make sense now, and so much happens at the same time. Well, and the writers are even like, we're going to jump back and forth, and that makes it even more confusing to try to explain to somebody.
Especially something that is clearly as thought out as this. I mean, it's very clear that Zdarsky, this was his game plan all along since taking over Daredevil.
Yep.
Yeah. That this was the idea, you know, clean up a few things like the Mike Murdock thing and all that. But but yeah, this was clearly what he was building towards, which means that he's been planning this for a while. So it's a much bigger and more layered story. And I have to say that of Marvel crossovers over the last recent years, it's probably the one I've enjoyed the most.
I am going to second that. This has been probably the best crossover I have read in years.
I would say I enjoyed this crossover as much as I enjoyed Death Metal, and you guys know how I enjoy a good DC Crisis. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed a Marvel crossover as much as I enjoyed Devil Reign.
And there's one other Devil Reigns book issue called Omega. I've already talked for an hour here, so I'm not going to continue to explain that one. But I do recommend going out and reading it. It's a nice, good epilogue that sets up a lot of things that are going to happen for Daredevil, for New York, for Luke Cage in the future.
As you say, it's an epilogue, but also kind of a prologue and a setup.
Yeah, that's what those Omega books are. Yeah. Like, here's the end, the beginning of something new. So,
but as far as Devil's Reigns go, that's Devil's Reign. Like, it's a massive. Like Dr. Impact said earlier, it's almost Civil War.
Yeah,
sized.
Caliber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but under the radar, not as promotionally pushed as Civil War was.
Not at all, because I didn't really even know about it, even at my local comic shop, until one day I was checking out and they had like a little display behind them, and they're like, "We have all Devil's Reign 1 through 6," and I was like, "I didn't even know that came out." Like, and you have all 6 issues. Okay, so at this point, I was like, "I'm just gonna wait to get the paperback and read it." But yeah,
It's worth it.
I was gonna say it sounds good. Yeah, like I'm just waiting for it to come out, and I'll pick it up. So.
And the thing I took away from this most, actually, after reading all the tie-ins, is I think I'm going to go back and reread the Spider-Womans. I really enjoyed those 3 issues of Spider-Woman I read.
Oh, that's my question. What ends up happening with the Skrull?
So they end up getting to they end up finding her, the Skrull Empress, and Captain Marvel shows up.
Okay.
And Spider-Woman's like fighting Captain Marvel because she doesn't know if it's really Captain Marvel. And then the Skrull Empress shows up as Captain Marvel, and they all kind of have a fight because the little kid is able to suss out which one is really the real Captain Marvel. And they all fight, and they end up beating the Skrull Empress. And if I remember right, she's arrested, but not killed or anything, so she's still out there.
Okay. Well, there was talk, and I think it has since been shelved, but there was talk of a new Secret Invasion comic that Marvel was going to put out, because obviously the Disney Plus show, they wanted to cash in on the Disney Plus show.
Sure.
So that's why I was wondering if maybe this Skrull Empress somehow is going to lead into this new Secret Invasion book, maybe.
It could. She's still alive.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was going to say, they always have some build-up comic-wise to the shows, I feel like.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, for someone like myself who has hated a lot of Marvel comics lately, I cannot recommend this miniseries more. This has been absolutely phenomenal. One that I'm gonna, even though I've got the singles, I'm gonna buy the trade as well, just so, because I'm hoping the trade has the variant covers in it like most do.
Right.
Because I want those as well. But this is fantastic, and listeners, I highly recommend going out and checking out the trade. You don't need to read the tie-ins. If you do want to read the tie-ins, but you don't read all of them, Daredevil Woman Without Fear is about the only major one you need to really read.
Yeah.
And Moon Knight. You don't need to read it, but goddamn, was that fun.
Well, and if you're a Spider-Man reader, I really do think that there's going to be a lot of ramifications that come out of all of this. So like, the Superior Four and all that kind of stuff, I think is going to play heavily in other titles. But Now that's an amazing deep dive into quite a dense and thick story.
Yes.
And I tried to go as quickly as I could in glaze, but as you guys know, as you can tell, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't glaze over.
What about you at home, though? Did you guys read Devil's Reign? Did you guys enjoy it? Let us know. Please comment on our Facebook page, comment on our YouTube page. Let us know what you thought about Devil's Reign, and let us know if I forgot anything major that you should have. But yeah, otherwise, guys, I'm really glad you got to experience this with you guys. I'm glad I got to teach Smurphy about a lot of this. I'm really looking forward to hearing what your opinion is after you read the graphic novel. But as for that goes, I'm going to go ahead and sign us out here. I am the Dragonus Prime without fear.
I am the politically exhausted Dr. Impact.
Is Peter Parker still in a coma? I'm Smurphy.
And until next time, have a great day, everyone.
And with that, the knowledge is yours. What does it even mean? Are you a lister? Do you want to be a lister? You can be a lister today. Join now.
Join what? Where? What are you talking about?
What he means is you and everyone you know should subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on every app possible.
Head on over to our Patreon page and help support the show.
Good. Now take it home.
The power is yours.
Nope. Not happening.